Drum roll, please. It's stash time. Hi, Shandy. Are you excited too? Hi friends, welcome back. I'm MC and I love tracking my yarn stash. I started tracking in 2023. I changed my methods and got a little bit more serious about it in 2024, and now 2025 is here and we have a lot to talk about for what is coming this year. So firstly, I just wanted to show you, this is the current stash that I'm working with. This shelf up here, this is stock for the shop. So, you know, if you see anything you like, it's there. I think a decent amount of this is still on sale. If it's not, I'll update that before this video goes live. So everything you're seeing right here is on sale. So go shop. Anyway, this is my current yarn stash right here behind me. We're in a closet. It's never gonna be a great view, but I will try and get maybe a better close-up of what's going on behind me over here. Let me step out for a second. I do have two other areas besides the closet where I keep a tiny bit of stash, and one of them you have probably seen in other videos of mine, and that is the pegboard on the wall that is over here. I will insert a clip of it. I have on the top of the pegboard, I have a row of hand spun yarn. There are a couple of skeins on there that are very special skeins to me, like the first skein I ever spun that's like really messy and awful and probably unusable, that I'm not planning on ever using, but that is where I keep my hand spun for right now. I do want to get it in here eventually, but we'll talk about that in our goals section. And then I do have a little spot on top of the bookcase that is behind you guys, where I keep yarn that is either currently in a project or very soon about to be in a project. So, you know, for instance, if I'm working on something that's going to take me 6 skeins, I will usually only cake up the first one, maybe 2, and then the other ones will go there, so they're not crowding things in here, and I know that like everything I might need for my project is right there. And I do have a couple of things set aside over there right now that I'm like about to cast on. So I just pulled them and put them over there for right now instead of squeezing them into here. But other than that, this is where my stash really lives. So let's talk about what happened last year, and then let's talk about how we're starting out this year. I had to pick up my computer because there's a lot going on here. But basically, we will quickly wrap up 2024. For those that were following along, I don't think I did a stash update in November or December, and they were honestly pretty boring months. So, thank you, Shandy. I know, you're right, they weren't that boring. Basically, what had happened was, in the last time I updated you, I had ended October with 55 skeins in my stash. And November, I had 3 skeins come in and 2 skeins go out. I don't really remember what those were. But yeah, it was boring. We're not going to go into it very much right now because I think this video is going to be long enough on its own. Then in December, I had 15 skeins come in and 13 skeins go out, and that was really just a lot of me pulling yarn from stock to make something and then immediately casting it on. So again, it sounds like a lot, but it was pretty boring because it was like, it didn't technically come in and then go out. I really just stole from stock and made something. So I ended the year 2024 with 58 skeins in my stash. Now, this was not counting my hand spun, and this was counting minis as full skeins. So, what happened in 2025? Okay, really quickly, before I finally reveal what I'm starting with for 2025, I want to talk about what changed from last year. I have decided to still count mini skeins as a skein. They're just a thing. I'm counting them as an item that is in here. So I don't have any partial skeins or scraps or anything like that. I'm really not a scrap person, so I actually don't keep very many of my scraps. I have a few, but not much. So everything is a full skein. And by full, I mean intact, because some of them are only 20-gram mini skeins, but I'm just counting them as a skein. I have also added in my hand spun into this total. And I decided at the last minute, I thought, you know, it was getting kind of weird at the end of last year where I would just raid my stash or dye up something for myself to make a sample, and I would immediately have things coming in and out. So what I did was I dyed up some stuff that I know I want to use. I rated my stock from the shop, all that kind of stuff, and I pulled a bunch of skeins and added them into my stash so that we're starting out with kind of more accurate numbers. I also did grab a few things to destash. I have built a pretty robust tracker for my stash numbers, and I will maybe insert a clip of me screen sharing that so that you can see what it is looking like. But basically I have created a very detailed database that shows all of my yarn, the yardage, when I've used it, how much yardage is remaining, how many skeins I have, all that kind of stuff. And then it will tell me my skeins in and out per month, also my yardage in and out per month, all of that stuff. And I guess that leaves us with what number we're starting with. I am starting, are we ready? I'm starting the year 2025 with 77 skeins. 77. Which honestly, it feels like I've backtracked. If I just think of numbers, it feels like I've backtracked since last year. But then I added in all of my hand spun. I, pulled some things from stock. I made some project plans and got stuff ready for that. So actually 77 feels like a pretty good number. And if you were curious, my yardage that I currently have in stash is 26,139 yards. That's a lot of yards. And also, I do want to take a moment before we dig into this further and say my numbers, when I say they like feel good or bad or whatever, that is completely personal. I have no opinion on what your stash is. I don't care. If it makes you happy, I'm so glad. If it's one skein or 1,000 skeins or whatever, I don't care if it makes you happy. My goal in starting this whole thing was to get my stash to a point where it made me happy, because I had some things where I had just kind of collected yarn that I felt was like pretty in the moment and I didn't actually want to use. I didn't have inspiration to use it in anything, and I just thought it was fun. And like, yeah, there's gorgeous yarn out there, but there's plenty of yarn that I can say, wow, that's beautiful, but I don't actually want to use it, So my goal was to get my stash to a place that made me happy. And honestly, I really feel like I'm there. There's not much left in here that I don't feel inspired by. I pretty much want to use all of it. There's a little bit that I think oh, there's a deer. Whoa, hang on one second. Oh my gosh. Okay, sorry. I saw a movement out of the corner of my eye in the window. I tried really hard to get a clip for you guys, but by the time I got over there, it was like behind the house next door. A deer just like walked across the street. I feel like that's not a good sign. I hope they're okay. Okay, back to whatever I was saying. I feel very happy by my stash right now. I think that at pretty much any time I could grab any skein and be really happy to be working with it. I do have some small goals that I think we will talk about at the end of this video. But before we do that, I want to talk about what I have in my stash, in case you were wondering about any stats. If you were not, then you can skip ahead a little bit, but just if you were wondering, here is my number breakdown. I have 4 skeins of lace weight yarn, 9 skeins of what is technically qualified as light fingering weight, which includes my 3 minis. All of them are light fingering yarn. Then I have 32 skeins of fingering weight yarn. I think that is, that number went up quite a bit because I grabbed a couple of sweater quantities of fingering weight yarn for myself right before tabulating my starting numbers. So that's where the 32 came from. That's you know, a decent amount of my stash. Then I have 27 DK weight skeins, which is where a lot of my hand spun falls. So that's why that number is so large, because a decent amount of my hand spun is DK weight. Then I have two worsted weight skeins and 3 bulky weight skeins, which are all hand spun. Which I think they are all like cable plied hand spun, which is basically like 4 plies. So it ends up a bit thicker. So that's where I'm at for numbers. And if you were wondering, MC, this year, are you tracking your fiber? Yes, I am. Yes, I am. That is a much smaller project for me because this little box over here is all that I have for fiber. I actually don't have a very large fiber stash. I do have sheep fleeces that I have not been counting because they're not fiber yet. So if I turn them into fiber, I will add them into stash. But for right now, I don't have any ready to go. So this is all that I have for stash. So I started 2025 with 12 fiber things. Braids, bumps, whatever. But that doesn't really mean much because sometimes they're 2 ounces, sometimes they're 4 ounces, sometimes they're like 4.8 ounces, whatever. So I started with 46.3 ounces of fiber in 2025. And if I show you a clip of my stash tracker, you will get a little sneak peek of some things that have already happened in January before I filmed this. But so yeah, things are moving. We're already tracking and it's really fun. Now let's talk about goals for this year. Oh, I didn't tell you another very important stat that some of you might be invested in. Tied into our goals, my goals for 2025 is my 1 week, 1 skein mug full of stuff. And I have 38 single skeins. 38 single skeins. That feels like a lot. Feels like a lot after all the work that I did last year to destash a lot of them and to use a lot of single skeins. I feel like, oh my gosh, how am I already back up at 38? And that is because, 1, I added in some single skeins in here that weren't here before. So, sorry, I feel like I'm standing on the squeakiest spot in the entire house on this floor, but sorry. 1, last year my mini skeins were not in my 1 week, 1 skein mug, but I decided to throw them in because they are technically single skeins, and maybe that will encourage me to use them. If I pull out a mini skein, maybe I will want to use it as an accent in a sock or a hat or stripes on a sweater or something. And so maybe that will kind of spur me in a direction to use them, because honestly, I don't really like mini skeins. So I only have 3 and I would like them to go away. I would like them to be used. So that is a goal, is to use up my 3 mini skeins. But also I had a couple of single skein, like technically single skeins, but I know I want to use them for a larger project and I decided to add them in. So right here, I have 5 skeins of, let me pull one out. This is the Fiber Co. And it's really pretty. This color is called the Buttermere. It's super kind of like pukey green, and I love it. But I have 5 skeins of this, each in different colors. So technically they are single skeins, but I know I want to use them all in one project. So last year I didn't count them. I also have I have 3 skeins of Drops Sky that, again, I know I want to use them all together. So like they're technically a single skein, but they're like, they go together as a project. But I decided to put them in the cup because then if I pull one out, it will inspire me and get me going on that larger project that I want to do. So those are all in there. Mini skeins, multi-skein projects have been added, and also my hand spun. I have only 2 of my hand spun projects that I have made so far that are not single skeins. So most of my hand spun is single skeins. So those all went in there. And so that is how I ended up with such a large number in the cup. I'm just realizing that I might have, hang on, 9 plus 13 is 22, plus 9 is 31, 32, 33, 34, 36. Okay. Yes, I just redid some math and I realized I misspoke. I started the year with 36 single skeins. And earlier I said 38, so that's telling you a little bit about how January has gone so far. A little hint at what has happened in January. Anyway, let's talk goals. Like I said before, get those 3 mini skeins out of my stash. I feel like that shouldn't be hard, but they've been lingering, hanging around here for a really long time. I do have plans for 2 of them. I'm pretty sure 2 of them are going in socks. One of them, I don't know, but ooh, I just thought of an idea. We'll see, maybe. Anyway, get rid of 3 mini skeins. I have no fiber goals for this year, I don't think. I just want to keep doing what makes me happy. I would like to keep my fiber stash fitting in this box. I guess that would be a good goal. Although with the caveat that I know if I prep a full sheep's fleece, it's not going to fit in this box. So like those don't count. But I mean other fiber that I have purchased from other brands. Let's keep it in this box. That sounds good. I would, let's see, I don't know. What are my other goals? I really would like to try and get my hand spun to fit in here. So these 2 cubes that I have here were like half full until I went and raided my shop and started pulling things out. So I added a lot of yarn in. So I think if I can get these projects that I'm planning on making done, then I'll have a lot more room and I can get my hand spun in here. Plus I also want to use more of my hand spun, which I guess is another goal, but not a very tangible one. Just use more hand spun. But I think if I find a nice balance between using up these yarns and using my hand spuns, we will find a way to get my hand spun into here. So then my whole yarn stash is all just in one place. That's what I would love. And that's honestly it. I think in general, I maybe would like to have less single skeins, but at the point that I'm at right now, there aren't any that I want to get rid of. So they're going to stick around until I use them. So this feels like an interesting stash journey. It's a little bit different than last year. Last year I really did so much destashing and I really thought about my yarn, and I would stand here and look at this so often and think about what really inspired me. And I destashed so much yarn, which, by the way, I added even more destash stuff to the website, so if you're looking for something, you can go check it out. But this year, I really feel like that's not going to happen. I feel like I'm not going to be doing much destashing from what I have here. I really like everything that I have, and I feel excited to make something with all of these things. So I feel like it's going to be a good year. I feel like it's going to be a good year. And also because I think there's going to be less in and out, I am planning on doing these stash tracking updates every other month this year, just because I think it's gonna be, yeah, it's gonna be less than it was last year, but I still want to do it because I still think it's so much fun. So that being said, are there any stats that you were really hoping that I shared that I missed? Let me know. If I missed any stats, I'm happy to figure them out for you. Like I said, I have a pretty intense tracker, so I can find out almost anything that you want to know about the yarn that is currently in my stash or that I started the year with. So that being said, if you are enjoying this stash journey, please give a like to this video and subscribe so that you don't miss the rest of the updates. And let me know, are you on a stash journey? Do you care about a stash journey? If you don't, that's fine. Like I said, there's no judgment on any size stash. But do you have any goals for your yarn this year? Not even necessarily decreasing your stash or anything like that, but is there a project that you've been really wanting to make and you think this is finally the year? Is there something that you want to try that's new? Let me know your goals for 2025. And until next time, take care of you, and I will see you later. Bye.